The National Soccer Coaches Association of America is saddened by the passing of two great NSCAA members and two great college coaches, Sam Koch, the University of Massachusetts, and T. Logan Fleck, Stetson University. This is the 2014 NSCAA College Soccer Preview, putting the spotlight on NCAA Division I men's soccer preseason rankings and the 2014 MAC Hermann watch list. And it comes to you right now, right here on NSCAA TV. And last year, one of the all-time good guys, Bobby Clark and the Notre Dame Fighting Irish won the national championship at PPL Park in Philadelphia, coming from behind to knock off Sasho Surowski's Maryland Terps by a score of 2-1 in a game filled with some controversial possible handballs and more. In the end, Leon Brown and Andrew O'Malley, off a free kick from Harrison Shipp, were able to overcome a goal from MAC Hermann winner Patrick Mullins to win 2-1. And that's what the Final Four looked like. Notre Dame knocking off Jeremy Fishbine's New Mexico team 2-0 behind two goals from Patrick Hodan, and the Terps beat fellow ACC rival Virginia by a score of 2-1. Patrick Mullins with both goals for the Terps. Hello, buddy. I'm Dean Linke. Delighted to be the voice of the NSCAA and delighted to be with you once again for the 2014 preseason rankings. And later on, we will unveil, of course, the MAC Hermann Trophy watch list. Let's first, though, tell you what's coming up right here on NSCAA TV as we give you a preview on what will indeed be a big show. We'll have the NSCAA Continental Tire Top 25 breakdown, the 2014 MAC Hermann watch list. The 2005 MAC Hermann winner Jason Gary will be here to break down that list, as well as joining us to break down the rankings and more is former Davidson head coach Charlie Slago and a very good friend of the NSCAA. And of course, today's show is presented by our good friends from Continental Tire. Innovative technology, driving confidence. Learn more at continentaltire.com. We mentioned Charlie Slago. Let's take a look at him. 21 years at Davidson. As he joins me now, he was also the longtime CEO of the Capital Area Soccer League. And Charlie, always good to be back with you.
Always good to be with you, Dino.
Of course, Notre Dame, Bobby Clark, the veteran, getting it done.
He got it done, and you mentioned a couple names, Harrison Shipp, and he won't be there. And who's going to guide that ship this year as far as Notre Dame is concerned? Patrick Mullins, 2 goals in the semifinal. He's going to be gone. It's going to be interesting. There's 46 teams that are listed as receiving votes. I think any one of those 46 could be in the final 8. It's that close. It was very, very tight last year. I think it will continue to be so this year.
A little later on, we'll visit with Jason Gary, who won the MAC Hermann back in 2005. Of course, his Terps losing to Notre Dame. 3 ACC teams in the men, 3 in the women. Maryland always very good. Always
very good, and Maryland seems to get those guys from Louisiana, and they end up getting the MAC trophy. And I don't think they have any this year, but they have a ton of good players like they have the last couple years. They have 2 very strong first and second teams that could compete very, very greatly. And Sasho's seemed to do a very good job of keeping the right fit onto the field.
Charlie, you picked Maryland to win last year. Let's not get your prediction yet. Let's take a look at the NSCAA Continental Tire Top 25, starting with the first 10. And no surprise here, a lot of times they come back in the way they left, and there's Notre Dame with the #1 seed as the #1 team in the country, followed by Maryland, Virginia, and UCLA.
Right, and you see a lot of coaches that have been around a long time. Bobby Clark at Notre Dame, Sasha Surowski, George Gelnovich, Jorge Salcedo at UCLA, Jeremy Fishbine in his 13th year at New Mexico. And then you have the father-son with Jamie Clark. All of these teams are going to be very competitive, but you look at last year, and Notre Dame didn't have many losses. I think they had 1 loss, but they had 5 ties. This is always a battle, but Notre Dame, second year in the ACC, Maryland, first year in the Big Ten, and that should be interesting how that goes. And then, of course, another ACC team in Virginia. But look how many teams, as you go through this top 25, are from the West Coast. West Coast really was pretty dominant last year as far as top 15 teams, and I think they'll do that again this year.
Before we flip the top 10, I do want to tell you that once again, Rob Keel's put an incredible schedule together for NSCAA TV, as we'll have the 2, 3, and 4 teams in your preseason rankings featured. Maryland, September 5th against UMBC, Virginia, October 7th at George Mason, and UCLA travels down to UCSB, where 15,000 plus will watch that great game. And Connecticut will be at Seattle September 14th, and then home against a very good Tulsa team, which received votes as well. That'll be on October 11th. All right, let's flip now to 11 through 20 here, and there's another ACC team, Wake Forest, at 11.
Yeah, Jay Vinovich always has a very good team. I think this will be one of his better ones. National championship back in the late 2007. And then you have teams like Louisville also coming into the ACC with Ken Lola. That will be interesting. A lot of travel for them, but they will be awfully good. UC Santa Barbara, Tim Von Steeg's team, always competitive. You have them with their huge crowd and their tortillas being thrown when the goals are scored, and they are awfully good. Akron has continued to be good with Jared Embick taking over there last year.
All right, and also mentioning games for teams on NSCAA TV, we always have Akron as they'll host West Virginia and Marlin the Blocks. Very good West Virginia team on October 17th. Louisville, Ken Lola went to Duke. He's one of their all-time 50 greats. The first ACC game at that beautiful brand new stadium in Louisville will be featured September 13th in Louisville against John Kerr's Duke Blue Devils, who, by the way, Duke's getting votes. Don't count off Duke. They had a great recruiting class. I expect them to be back in the top 20, Charlie.
Yes, and it's tough for all the ACC teams. I don't think any of the ACC teams are going to go through it unscathed, but they're going to be all very ready to play. And I think the same's true with the West Coast.
Finally, Bob Warming's Penn State Nittany Lions will travel to Bucknell on October 1st, and that game will be on NSCAA TV. And in the Final Five from the Big Ten, Wisconsin, John Trask has the Badgers at 21.
Yes, he's at 21 with Wisconsin Badgers, and they were very competitive again. You don't normally see UNC at 22. Carlos Samuano, last year a lot of close games, not many goals scored. I don't think that they'll stay there. They will be in the top 10 at some point during the year and probably at the end of the year. And you have Navy there. Navy played very, very well last year, but who is going to be the Navy this year? Will it be Navy again, or will it be one of these other teams that you see in the receiving votes, which, you look at Elon, who lost Aaron Powell, and Chris Little comes in there, and you have Indiana and Duke just receiving votes, and those teams are quality.
No doubt about it. As we point out again, North Carolina, the Tar Heels will be on NSCAA TV on September 16th when they travel down to Williamsburg, Virginia, to take on that very good William & Mary team, which is also receiving votes. Of course, Charlotte at 23, Cal State Northridge at 24, and Navy so impressive last year in that overtime thriller over Army, also on NSCAA TV. You said a couple teams that received votes. VCU, Clemson, that program on the rise as well in the ACC under Coach Noonan. The Michigan Wolverines getting votes. Can't count out Tim Lenahan in Northwestern either.
No, as I say, there's 46 teams listed when you add the receiving votes, and Final 8, Final 16 in the country. You can see any one of those, and there may be somebody who's not even on here. The competition is so close all across the board. Whoever gets hot, gets somebody scoring some goals, gets a goalkeeper making some saves, and they're going to be right up there. All
right, let's put the bright lights back on Charlie Slago. It's prediction time now. Last year you rode Maryland pretty far. They almost brought it home for you. Of course, I know you felt good for Bobby Clark. Sasho's always there. Early on, your prediction. I'll tell you what, give me your top 2 teams, Charlie. How about that?
Okay. I didn't know I had to go but 2, but I'm going, I think the flood had something to do with it. I'm going with UCLA and Jorge Salcedo. I don't know if people saw that, but they had a water main break out there, and Pauley Pavilion was underwater. The soccer field was underwater. And so I'm going to go with UCLA, get a West Coast team out there, and that is going to be in Cary, North Carolina, right here mid-December. And then I am going to go with UVA. George Geldovich seems to have that team there every year, and defensively, when they play great defense, I think that they're going to be awfully good in goal and at the defense, and I think that they will be a team to watch again this year, as they lost in the semifinals last year.
Great picks, Charlie, as they always are. Charlie Slago getting it done. He'll come back with us and be here all week as part of NSCAA TV as we break down not just D1, but D2, D3, even junior college. But when we come back, we'll be joined by 2005 Mac Hermann Trophy winner Jason Gary. You mentioned UCLA. Leo Stoles is on the list. He could win the award and take UCLA all the way home. This is NSCAA TV.
The NCAA convention to me is probably the best place to get any sort of education of a wide variety that you can go in the world.
Oh, I'm excited. I'm ready to go on.
Super excited.
Pretty excited.
Oh, super excited, yes. Now I'm excited to just be a part of it and experience it all, take it all in.
You watch the match live. You road trip to the away games. You rise and fall with every run. Above all, you live your love of the game. Whatever you do, get there with Continental tires and improve your grip with extreme contact traction.
Continental Tire, for what you do.
At Lumber Liquidators, we buy direct from the mills, giving us an incredible selection of hardwood floors at unheard-of prices. Right now, choose from over 150 hardwoods on sale, including popular wide plank pre-finished red oak for just $179. Red oak makes it gorgeous, wide plank makes it stylish, and we've got it for 55% less than other stores. Plus, get an amazing 20% off our best laminate and vinyl flooring. Incredible deals on beautiful bamboo, hardwood, and laminate, and 12-month special financing. Hurry at these unbelievable sale prices. These deals won't last long, so get to your local Lumber Liquidators now.
Patrick Mullins walked away with back-to-back Mac Hermann trophies after finishing with 19 goals and 8 assists a year ago. He had 17 goals and 10 assists the year before and finished with 47 goals and 199 points at Maryland. And he had a great role model to look up to because a few years before, look at that man, Jason Gary would walk home with a Hermann and a national championship, winning them both in 2005 as he scored 22 goals and 7 assists. And he's still the all-time leader in goals and points with 60 and 140 at Maryland. There you see it in 2005. The man cleaned house, won the Mac Hermann, won the national championship, the College Cup Offensive MVP, and the ACC Offensive Player of the Year. And guess what, folks? He's sitting right next to me. He's back. Jason Gary. Good to see you, Jason.
See you too, Dean.
Mac Hermann watch list. When they give out the hardware, it's got to be an exciting time for you no matter what the year.
It was really nerve-wracking, and I was lucky to be there in 2005, and then in 2012 I was able to be there when Patrick Mullins won his first Hermann Trophy, and that was a pretty special moment. Us both, our background being from Louisiana and going to Maryland, so definitely a special time. Yeah,
you heard Charlie Slago earlier talk about that Louisiana connection going up to Maryland, but what Sasho Surowski has built at Maryland has been great as a team and for individual players.
It sure has. He's got a great way of putting groups of guys together that have the same motivation, have the same passion for the game, and to be able to sustain it for as long as he had is really something special.
All right, Jason Gary, let's go back to 2005. We don't have to go back too far to take a look at your Mac Hermann Trophy, and these are the players that have won it since. Of course, Notre Dame with Lapira won it in 2006, and then you see Wenger from Duke, a couple great players from Akron mixed in there as well.
Yeah, and something you notice in the past, 5 or 10 years is a lot of forwards have won the Mac Hermann Trophy, so it's usually a guy that gets on a good run of form and scores a lot of goals. And I think this year we might have something a little bit different. Maybe a midfielder or a defender can get in there and win this.
All right, well now it is time to preview here the 2014 Mac Hermann watch list as we thank Jim Wilson, the Director of Communications for the Missouri Athletic Club, for providing us this great list. And you ready to get to work here, Jason?
Let's do it.
All right, let's go first to the goalkeepers. There's 4 of them in the men's game, and it's not easy for a goalkeeper to walk away with it, but there's some very good goalkeepers.
Yeah, some very good goalkeepers. Winston Bolt, goalkeeper, senior at Army. He's got Russell Payne there leading him. Russell is a former goalkeeper at Maryland, so really knows what he's doing training those goalkeepers, so they'll look to be moving forward there. But it's very difficult to win this award as a goalkeeper, so these guys have got to have a shutdown season, and their team has to do very well for them to be in that final 3.
Take a look here at Stephen Cross, the sophomore goalkeeper, had a .715 goals against average last year for Alan Dawson and George Mason. A big man, just the sophomore from Germany, very good goalkeeper, big and strong. Speaking of big and strong, Tyler Miller at Northwestern, also very effective. And then our last one that we can also show you some photos of, Spencer Ritchie, the redshirt senior. Here's a guy who was injured last year. Ryan Hermann came in and led Washington on a brilliant run. Jamie Clark, of course, but now back is Spencer Ritchie, and he's back on the Mac Hermann watch list.
Yeah, that's what you want from your goalkeepers. It's so vital to have two guys that can come in and play at any time. But being injured last year, coming back, he's going to be a senior year. He's going to look to really push that Washington team forward.
So we look forward to seeing Spencer Ritchie, and of course congratulate Ryan Hermann on a great job between the pipes as well. All right, let's move now to the defenders listed here as part of the 2014 NSCAA College Men's Mac Hermann Award watch list. And I'll tell you what, very good defenders. A lot of these players will be playing in MLS or even overseas.
Yeah, they sure will. Some of the guys that stick out to me, Boyd Okwanu from North Carolina, the senior. He's been here for a long time. He's really the leader of that team. He does a lot of stuff in the back, and I see him projecting at the next level, whether it's MLS or overseas. His decision a coach is going to have to make is whether he's going to play in the center or play on the outside, because he's got the talent to play anywhere along the back line. He's a guy that I really look to. If he has a good season and North Carolina has a good season, yeah, he can really go far.
All right, you're seeing Boyd Okwanu on your screen as well. Umar Ballo, who is from UMBC, played with Pete Karinji Jr. and now still under the head coach there, Pete Karinji Sr. Joseph Greenspan, take a picture of this big guy here as he scored the big goal against Army last year at PPL Park with more than 5,000 people in attendance as well. Joseph Greenspan, the big defender from Navy. And then you've got Anthony Manning and then Craig Nitty, the junior from Loyola Marymount. You mentioned already as you take a look here at Nitty, he is a junior defender from California.
Yeah, at Loyola Marymount, coming in from California, like Charlie Schlegel said in the pregame show, is California was very strong last year. All the teams on the West Coast look really good, but he's going to have a challenge out there at a small school at Loyola Marymount.
Tim Parker, who plays for Dr. Dave Mazur, as you already mentioned, Boyd Okwanu is at St. John's, and Parker is from Hicksville, New York, a senior defender. He was a second-team All-American in 2012.
Yeah, and he was on our list last year, Tim Parker, and like we said with Boyd Okwanu, if he's able to lead his team to a very successful year with a low goals against average, he could be in the mix there at the end.
Matt Polster, the senior from SIU Edwardsville, and finally we wrap up the defenders with Joshua Yarrow, a sophomore from Georgetown.
Yeah, the sophomore from Georgetown. Georgetown had a great run the last few years. They're going to be really looking to replace a lot of their attacking talent, but Joshua Yarrow is going to have to hold down that back line for Georgetown in order for them to be successful.
Well said, and of course, as we move into the midfielders and forwards, traditionally the Mac Hermann goes to a player that scores a lot of goals or hands out a lot of assists. And as we take a look at it, Laurie Bell is back on the list again. He's from England, and it was a first-team All-America last year.
Yeah, and he was a Horizon League Player of the Year, scored 13 goals and 4 assists coming out of midfield. So he's going to look to have a good season. Like we were saying before, if a midfielder can really turn it on this year and score a bunch of goals, but also lead his team into the Final Four, he's got a great chance at winning the award.
All right, Notre Dame has a very familiar name if you're a U.S. national team fan, Nick Beasler. As we roll to the video, tell us a little bit about him.
Yeah, Nick Beasler, his older brother, obviously Matt Beasler, playing for the U.S. national team in the World Cup. But Nick is a great player as well in his own right, so he's kind of trying to step out of that shadow. He's a great player last year for Notre Dame, leading them to the Final Four and the national championship. So he's going to look to be the overall leader and the captain of that team this year.
Adria Biso, the senior from Connecticut. We saw him last year on NSCAA TV. Had 10 assists in 2013, earning second-team All-America honors. And Biso, very, very talented, creative little guy.
Yeah, it's fantastic. You love to see those guys, especially as a forward. You love those guys playing right behind you. He's going to look to get those assists and score a few goals as well. But that's a great, great matchup there up in Connecticut. He's had some success.
And a beautiful ball right there you see from Beso. Eric Bird, the senior from Virginia. Charlie Slago predicts Virginia to be there at the end. If they are, Bird will play a key role.
Yes, he'll play a key role. He's the captain. He's the leader of that team in the midfield. And if he has a good season, Charlie Slago's prediction might come correct and they could be in the Final Four.
Connor Davis from Wofford plays for Ralph Polson. Certainly wish him well. Last year, Billy Padula was such a great player for Wofford. Now we take a look at the man from Evansville, Mike Jacobs, the NCAA assist leader last year with 14 was Fike Hedorovic, and he's a very good player for Evansville.
Yeah, to be leading any list in assists or goals is something special, and that Evansville team is going to look to come out of mid-tier conference and see if they can make a run at a Final Four.
All right, these next two players, walk them through both of them, one out on the coast and one at your alma mater.
Yeah, Ismail Ajom, the sophomore midfielder from UC Santa Barbara. He started every single game for Tim Bogstieg as a freshman. So he's a guy that if he gets hot and UCSB has a good season, he could be in the mix there at the end. And then, of course, got to go to the Maryland guy. Dan Metzger is really the guy that runs that engine in the midfield for Maryland. He's played there for a long time, his 4th year as a senior, and if Maryland's going to be successful, he's going to have to be the leader out there in the field, replacing Patrick Mullins. Dan Metzger, such an effective player, as Sasso Sorowski plays a lot of players, but Metzger, one of those guys that'll run the show as a senior. Finally, a couple more midfielders. Christian Roldan, the star for Jamie Clark's Washington team, is a very good player, as well as Leo Stoles, and we saw some video of him as we rolled to break. Yeah, Leo Stoles is a special player out there for UCLA. He's a senior now, been there for a long time. First team All-American last year and a finalist for the Hermann Trophy. So he's a guy that on the West Coast, UCLA, if they have a very good year, I could certainly see him being in the mix again.
He's got to wear that Charlie Slagle slate on his back as well now, too. So good luck for Leo Stoles and Jorge Salcedo. It's never easy. All right, finally, the goal scorers here as we brought you the goalkeepers, the defenders, the midfielders. Now let's take a look at the forwards, starting with Brandon Allen from Georgetown.
Yeah, he's a player I like a lot. He's got some big shoes to fill. They're replacing Steve Newman that got drafted by the New England Revolution in MLS. So he's going to be the guy that's going to have to score the goals for Georgetown this year, but I think he's got the capability to do it. So we'll look to him to have a good season.
Kevin Correa, St. Francis, New York. He's actually going to transfer from there. We'll keep an eye on where he's going to land. Guillermo Delgado from Delaware. And then how about Ricky Garbanzo?
Yeah, this is a player I like a lot. I think he has a great chance of having one of those breakout seasons. He's already scored 32 goals in his college career. So he's a guy you can see can realistically get 18 or 20 in a season and really push him into the Mac Hermann Trophy. But he's a guy that I would keep my eye on this season.
Robert Cristo at St. Louis. He was a third-team All-America a year ago. And then, boy, it seems like Ray Reid always has big, powerful forwards. And this sophomore here, Kyle Larin from Connecticut by way of Canada, he is very good for Ray Reid.
Yeah, Ray Reid's always had a really natural talent to find those guys, whether it's Jamaican guys or Central American guys or, now Canadian guys that he can bring in that be very successful in his system. So Kyle Larin's a guy to watch, sophomore forward.
All right, and of course, last year, Saji Lev-Ari from Cal State Northridge had 38 points, 16 goals, and 6 assists. And I know you like Jordan Morris.
I do. Jordan Morris, a sophomore forward from Stanford. He's been on the U23 national team. He's a guy that can get hot and really score a lot of goals very quickly.
And finally, you see Marquette represented, and then Romario Williams at UCF, a Jamaican who was 2013 All-Region first team. We talked about Larin earlier, another big, powerful player. There's a good look there at Romario Williams. Dean Linke along with Jason Gary. And Jason, as you know, earlier we put the spotlight, a little bit of pressure on Charlie Slagle to pick his top two, and he went with UCLA and Virginia. Last year, you went with your Louisiana and Maryland boy, Patrick Mullins, to repeat. Not as easy this year. So many great candidates. Who are you going with, Jason?
Yeah, it's a tough one. I had it easy last year going with my Louisiana guy. But I think Leo Stoles this year, the midfielder from UCLA, he could really do some things. And he's a special player that, being a senior, he's going to be the emotional leader of that team. And if he could score 10 goals and get 10 assists, I think he'll be the favorite for the Hermann Trophy.
All right, Jason, always a pleasure hanging out with you. We're going to ask you to stick back around. When we come back, we will show you that exciting schedule we're going to bring to you this year on NSCAA TV and talk to you about the other preseason ranking shows that are around the corner. You are watching NSCAA TV, brought to you by the good folks from Continental Tire.
The NCAA convention to me is probably the best place to get any sort of education of a wide variety that you can go in the world.
Oh, I'm excited. I'm ready to go on.
Super excited.
Pretty excited.
Oh, super excited, yes. Now I'm excited to just be a part of it and experience it all, take it all in.
You watch the match live. You road trip to the away games. You rise and fall with every run. Above all, you live your love of the game. Whatever you do, get there with Continental Tires and improve your grip with extreme contact traction.
Continental Tire, for what you do.
What an amazing schedule. Just the second year of existence for NSCAA TV, and we will bring you 20 Division I games, plus, boy, another 20 plus Division II and NAIA. But we get started out in Utah as Utah Valley and UMass get things started. But look at this schedule. You got West Virginia, Virginia Tech, and then how about Maryland under the lights there against UMBC? Such a great game.
Yeah, a little Maryland Derby versus UMBC, who's really an up-and-coming program in the country. So that should be a great matchup, the two teams from Maryland. Love how they have the little rivalry games going here on NSCAA. Fantastic.
Well, Rob Keogh does such a great job with new up-and-coming teams like Utah Valley and mixed in with superpowers, including Louisville and Duke. Ken Lola, John Kerr, Lola starred at Duke, and that's how they walk into ACC with Duke visiting their brand new stadium in Louisville. Yeah,
it's going to be fantastic. I'm really looking forward to watching that game and seeing that new stadium. Fantastic for college soccer to have such a stadium like that being used. Louisville versus Duke is going to be a great game.
And then, of course, you'll see Seattle hosting UConn. UConn will be part of the 20 games twice, an away game at Seattle, then a home game a little later on. And then William and Mary, always very good at Williamsburg, but Carlos Zambrano, North Carolina team that I think will bounce back this year.
Yeah, I think they'll be very good this year, but that's a tough place to play up in Williamsburg. William and Mary will be ready to rock.
And then speaking of ready to rock, UCSB, UCLA, you know there's going to be 15,000 folks there. That game is actually Saturday, September 20th as well. That'll be fantastic.
Oh, it's going to be great. I haven't witnessed some games there. My wife is a UCSB gaucho, so seen a few games there, and the tortillas will be on the field. It'll be a fantastic atmosphere for college soccer.
High Point and UNC Asheville, you know that's going to be a wonderful game at High Point, North Carolina. Just a wonderful university. We've got more men's broadcasts, so many we couldn't fit them on one page as you break them down. Bucknell, Brendan Nash, Penn State, Bob Warming. Bucknell always brings it for Penn State.
They do. That's going to be a fantastic game there up in Pennsylvania. And Penn State, they got to watch out on that one. That could be trouble.
And of course, that CSU Bakersfield game is very interesting as you think about that. Richie Grant comes over from Memphis to take on a man who led CSU Bakersfield for 27 seasons before going over to San Jose, and Simon Tobin. So that'll be great for Simon to come back and face Richie Grant.
Yeah, it'll be fantastic. A lot of synergy there of the two schools. It's going to be a great game.
And George Mason and Virginia. Remember, Charlie Slago picked Virginia to be there at the end. That'll be a great showcase.
It sure will. It's tough places to go on the road. Going down to Fairfax and playing George Mason will be a tough test for Virginia.
Ray Reed and Tom McIntosh will face Tulsa. And then Jared Embick will take on Marlon LeBlanc and West Virginia. That's the men broadcast as part of the NSCAA TV schedule. Some great women's games as well. Illinois State, Boston College. William and Mary women's side under the great John Daly will host Richmond. How about this matchup, UVA and Tennessee?
Yeah, I like this matchup. The Tennessee coach is an ex-Maryland coach named Brian Pinsky's got the women's program there in Tennessee. That's going to be a fantastic matchup, him coming back to the old ACC stomping grounds.
And you know, Mark Krikorian's so close, losing to UCLA a year ago. They will travel to UConn. They're featured. Always good to see the Seminoles.
Yeah, it's going to be a great matchup down in Connecticut. That's going to be fantastic.
And then Nikki Izzo-Brown will face Tom Stone and Texas Tech. And then how about that last game? The Ohio University students going over to Europe with the NSCAA, and they will be featured in this game as the color commentators, pregame hosts, sideline reporters as well. It's Ohio U in Miami, Ohio. That'll be a treat in Athens.
Another derby game. Gotta love that. Ohio U versus Miami, Ohio. It's going to be fantastic.
All right, we're not done bringing you preseason ranking shows here on NSCAA TV, as we've got more coming as well, Jason Gary. Before we get to that, though, what a big-time schedule on NSCAA TV.
Yeah, it's fantastic. Just to see the growth of the game from when I was playing back in the early 2000s to where it is now, it's great. It's a great opportunity for the players and the coaches to really get that exposure for college soccer, and it's a great job the NSCAA is doing. Speaking of a great job, you're doing a great job as we roll here now to the upcoming shows on NSCAA TV. As you stay with us right here, as we'll bring you Division II preseason rankings for men and women on Thursday, August 7th. And then on Friday, August 8th, it'll be Division III. And then hang on, after the weekend, right here on NSCAA TV, we've got Junior College Division I and III. All of your preseason rankings, as well as, of course, you can find the women featured as well on NSCAA TV. And we can't do it without the good friends at Continental Tire. Continental Tire, innovative technology, driving confidence. Learn more at continentaltire.com. So many people to thank for helping putting this show together. All the great staff in Kansas City, led by Joe Cummings. I want to especially thank Christine Hermish and Pat Madden, working with Rob Kehoe
to get the rankings in on time. Steve Veal and Jim Wilson breaking down the Missouri Athletic Club Hermann Trophy list. My main man, Jason Gary, all the SIDs, phenomenal getting us the video and the photos. I want to thank Charlie Slagle, Amanda Dinkle, the Ho Gang, as well, Kyle Lang and Taylor Hoggard. This entire show, of course, brought to you by NSCAA, the National Soccer Coaches Association of America. Learn, participate, belong.